Earlier this week on Ireland AM, we heard from Pádraig Higgins, who lost his son James in a farming accident.
We had what's called a soak pit. A soak pit would be a hole that you would dig in the ground to put stones into, so that when you get heavy rain, that the water would run into and soak away in its own time. But we hadn't the stones in it. And there's about a metre of water in this. So when we looked at the hole, there was a little green cap floating around on top of the water. And this was a cap that James would be wearing normally. And we knew there was something wrong, so Colin, our eldest son, got down into the water and he searched around and he caught James's little jumper and lifted him up out of the water. But we knew at that stage that we were fighting against the odds. But that was the way it started. That was the start of our nightmare that continued to live.
As part of Farm Safety Week, we have come to Godwin's farm here on the Mayo-Galway border, and we're joined by Brian McHugh from the Health and Safety Authority. Brian, thank you very much for joining us. The number of fatalities is really quite high, isn't it?
It is, Ciara. We have 8 people killed on farm so far this year, following on from last year, where we had 30 fatalities, which is our worst year on record. And over the last number of years, we're averaging about 20 people being killed on farms year on year.
I would imagine most of those accidents are preventable.
Unfortunately, farm fatalities account for nearly half of all workplace accidents year on year. And as you say, the vast majority are preventable with a bit of forward planning and a small bit of adjustment to how work is carried out on the farm.
So who is most at risk then? Is it the farmers? Is it inexperienced people visiting the farm?
Again, farming is a kind of unique workplace. You have age ranges from 18 months right through to 80 years of age. Half of the deaths in the last number of years have accounted for children and people over 65. And the rest of it is the farmer himself carrying out the work.
Tractors and farm vehicles cause nearly a third of all deaths. Farm machinery presents the next biggest danger. Then it's livestock, and finally drowning or gas emissions. They cause 1 in 10 deaths.
So you now have a number of things around this farm that you're going to show us that you think people could introduce to try and reduce the risk of an accident on their farm.
Well, Ciara, if I come to visit a farm and carry out a safety visit or inspection on it, these are the areas we would look at, and we would look to see that these control measures are in place.
Okay, let's go and take a look.
Tractors are potentially lethal machines, and most accidents occur by a person getting crushed by a tractor.
So we're here at a tractor, obviously. It's only when you get up close beside one you realise it's actually a massive vehicle, isn't it?
They're a large vehicle, very powerful, and you can see even here the restricted visibility that the farmer will have from the cab.
The Health and Safety Authority are encouraging farmers to carry out a simple 5-minute check before starting a tractor. Are your lights working? Brakes functioning? Are doors fully closed and windows intact? Steps in good condition? Are mirrors clean and in the proper position?
So the idea is then, when you get into your tractor in the morning, take a minute, take 5 minutes, just don't go into autopilot.
It's habit. If we can repeat it over and over, it doesn't become a chore. It's when we do it the first time it seems strange or unusual, but these are things they're only small things, but they make a massive difference to the day-to-day running on the farm.
Next up, when using machinery, the HSA advises using a safety guard on this, a power takeoff shaft, which transfers power to a machine. If it's left exposed, as this video shows, it's extremely dangerous. Almost a third of all child fatalities are caused by drowning in slurry or water. The HSA recommends a manhole that children can't open and a safety grid to give extra protection. They also say that the gas emitted while slurry is being mixed is highly poisonous. 1 lungful can cause instant death.
Slurry agitation is a planned activity on the farm. The farmer will know in advance that this is going on. You have a lot of large vehicle movement going on, again where it may be restricted vision. So everyone is arranged to be kept in and out of the way. The big problem with the slurry gas is you won't see it there. You won't see the hazard. You'll walk in and all of a sudden you're gone, you're down. And that's the big problem with the slurry gas. So the only safe way to deal with it is to stay out.
Not every accident on a farm is fatal. Serious injuries also occur, and many of those are caused by livestock. The greatest risk occurs when animals are on the move. Terence Godwin has run this farm for 20 years.
What advice do you have for farmers then?
Well, my biggest advice, I suppose, is never turn your back on stock, like, you know, and always be conscious of what's out there, like, you know, what you're dealing with, because they are livestock at the end of the day, like, you know, and you can never trust them, like, you know.
It's not your pet?
They're not your pet, no, so watch them.
Having identified an area that poses a potential risk on his farm, Terence is now applying for funding to remedy it. In fact, Minister Simon Coveney announced €12 million in grant aid to fund farm safety initiatives.
Now, unfortunately, 5 children died in farm accidents last year, so it's really important that children understand the risks that are associated with farming. 2 children who definitely do, and I'm joined by them now, Pádraig, who's 9, and Aoibhinn, who is 8. And you both have set up this website, farmsafetyforkids.net.
Yeah,
Tell me why.
because there was no other farm safety website for kids in Ireland.
And who spoke to you first about farm safety?
My dad and my teacher.
And what did they say to you?
The farm is very dangerous, the slurry pit and all the bull and animals and machinery.
And what did they teach you about farm safety, Aoibhinn?
They taught us that the farm is not a playground and you need to have a safe play area for kids to play in, and you also need to keep kids away from the bull and the tractor and the slurry pit as well.
And what would you say to kids who might be on a farm this summer and aren't used and aren't familiar with being on a farm?
Don't run behind tractor, don't go in a field with bulls or cows.
Well, that's very wise advice. And you, Aoibhinn?
I tell them that don't go near the slurry pit or the milking parlour if they have one, and especially don't go near the rams and the bull.
It's clear from talking to both Aoibhinn and Pádraig that farm safety can be taught. They'd really taken on board the advice that had been given to them by their parents and by their teachers. But if you're a farmer or you have access to a farm and you don't feel you've got the same knowledge that they have, then the Health and Safety Authority recommend that you check out their website. It's www.hsa.ie.